let's go and create the data table. Before we can do that, we kind of need to know what it is. Very quickly, data tables in Unreal, you need to do two things to have them. We need to have a structure, which is basically a combination that we have a string, we have a static mesh and a vector. That's what we're going to be adding. This is the structure that is containing the information of our stone. String, the name of our thing. We have a path, where does it live in Unreal? And we have a bounding box, which is the size and shape of our stone. So that's what the structure does over here. And then we have a data table. Is the table just like an Excel sheet, which contains all this information. And you can actually import this as an Excel sheet. So we will be basically be generating an Excel sheet with Houdini. That is the next step. It will need to contain all of these values. So let's do that. What I want to have is basically a easy way to do this is to first generate points for each of our pieces. So we're going to do the same for loop again for the name. And this for loop for our stone. I don't actually care about the geometry of this stone. And let's just do this with a blast over here. We'll grab the attributes later. We're just blasting all the geometry, which is now nothing, and we're just adding a point. This point will contain all the information that we want. So there's our point, and we will be generating 4 points. Then an attribute mode. I'm gonna make sure we have the attributes we want. We have a set of 3 different ones that we are in need of. We have the name of the object, actually not that necessary. We have the place where it lives, the Unreal bake folder, and we have the bounding box, of course. Then for the bake folder, as I see right now, I removed it. I think it actually might, it maybe was necessary, and I'm not 100% sure anymore, but I'm just going to make sure I have the whole bake folder. And we will be adding that later. And then we will be adding everything to a Excel sheet using a Python node. Let's go to our null node over here. In this null node, we are going to be adding a place where we want the CSV file to be saved. CSV, let's go to file, and I will regenerate it later. Let's call this, let's save this actually in CSV folder called stone data table .csv. There we go. Let's regenerate this thing again. So this data table basically just going to be an Excel sheet we're going to be writing in Python. We're going to create a couple of points containing all the information we want for each of those points, and then we're going to add all that information in every row of the Excel sheet. Here we have our empty point, and we're going to add the information using this attribute promote first. So with this attribute promote, we have we're going to go to detail. Right now we're setting this on primitive. And all the ones that we need are, we need a big folder for this. We actually need the name. We need, well, let's just do everything. There's not really anything to do. So let's place another attribute promote. And let's do the opposite. Go back to the points. Now we have our points. The attribute needing a little bit more, but it also doesn't really matter. There we go. Our set of points, and let's dive into Python. First thing we're going to need is to set up import our CSV. So import CSV. We need some stuff from that to make this work, and we're going to need, of course, the file where we're going to save this. I'm just going to type file equals to the thing we added to our control notes. And of course, when I paste this in there, a little bit annoying. Just Control C this and then Control Z. And now, and then if you do your middle mouse button on the Python code, you can see if this is set correctly. And we, of course, just need to be a string. To add this a little bit, and that should be all right. There we have our file. Now we need to do start creating our Excel sheet, which is basically going to be a we're going to use a dictionary for this, and we have a bunch of fields we're going to be setting, and let's just get into it. Let's start with a little for loop. And we're going to do a for points. And let's grab those points, as we need to have all the points of geometry. And the geometry we're already fetching, so it's going to be geo.points. That's going to be our points. Then in here, for each point, this is basically going to be our row. So we need all the information which we want. We have a Unreal Bake folder we want to fetch. It's going to be point.string attribute value. And then Unreal Bake folder. And we're going to do this for every different attribute. So we have the Unreal output name. And let's copy this thing over. And then change this to name. We have the bounding box. The bounding box is going to be 3 different values. So we have, which is going to be similar. So right now we're actually having, oh, I didn't convert everything to string value yet. That's also something we have to do. At least for the, oh wait, no, for the bounding box before it doesn't matter. This needs to be a float. Float attribute value. And this is going to be, oh, there we go. Very similar. And over here, we have the height. And then we have the depth as well. We have our bounding box information. Then we need to prepare a little bit to do some formatting because of the way Unreal likes to get its information regarding the bounding box. So going to be, and this is something I will have to type over, or I'm actually just gonna copy it over. There we go. That's the format Unreal wants it to be in, the bounding box. Then we need to create the Unreal path, which is the one we need the bake folder and the output name for. This is going to be the Unreal bake folder. Add one slash. And it's going to be Unreal output name. Strangely enough, there must be a reason that this is the case. We're going to add a point. And again, the Unreal output name. And now we have the Unreal path. We have a bounding box string that we want to have, of course. Maybe actually front over here to keep it together. And that is going to be the bounding box format that we have over here. We're going to be formatting this where we want those values to be. Let's say first, then height, depth, y in Houdini. All right. After this, we're going to add this to our row. We didn't make the row yet, but this is the row for inside of our dictionary later on. So let's make this row. O equals empty. And let's start up. Row. And now the order needs to be the same as whatever you have. Oh, first we need a row number. Real likes the row numbers, and it's also something that we'll be adding. The row number starts with 0. And we will be this one, just to make it very clear what everyone. So we are appending this row number to the very first. Then we are going to append our Unreal output name. Next up, the Unreal path. This order is kind of arbitrary. I set it up in this order in Unreal, and that's why we have to follow it over here. Your struct could of course be whatever you want in whatever order you want it to be. Box string. There we go. Now we have our rows being added to our dictionary, and now we're going to set up a place where we're going to write this file. This is where the import as CSV is important for. Let's open this. Write new line as file, but I already actually did I already have file? Let's call this F actually. File. There we go. Writer. For most of you, I don't think you need to understand too much of this stuff. You can actually just use something like ChatGPT or just find someone online on Stack Overflow. An easy setup like this. It's not too important what this thing is doing. The most important thing is that we're basically just creating a file. We are now writing a row, because this one row is going to be the top fields, which I haven't created yet. So let's create those top fields. Fields is going to be equal to, and this is again the same order as everything else that we've done. So the first one is empty because those are the rows. No, the name. We have the path. And we have the bounding box. Those are our fields. And now I'm going to write in multiple rows, which we had before, which are, I call rows is a, oh, this was row append. I didn't add this to row yet. Let's my picked. We have row and this row. Let's here. Empty out every time again. Then at the end over here, let's append to my dictionary the row. Here at the end, dictionary, which should be it if I didn't make a little mistake somewhere. Let me check what I. So I made a couple of typos. Let's get rid of those. So here, plus signs I forgot to add. There we go. Go through them one by one. We equal sign too much over here. We have arrow at the fields, which was that this is a point instead of a comma. Got an S over here. And this one was no attribute. This name exists, which is correct. So over here, this is Unreal bake name. Unreal output name. There you go, almost there. Another typo, bounding box string, which should have been bounding box string as well over here. And then this folder doesn't exist yet where it tries to write stuff in. For now, for the sake of convenience, CSV, another folder over there. Now if we rerun it, there we go. We have a CSV value file, which is over here. Perfect. That's the way it was supposed to look like. That looks very well. Let's now look in Unreal and see if this works. Let's open up Unreal again. And over here, I'll show you later how to do this yourself because it's a little bit more than this. So let's go into miscellaneous. Let's go to data table. Let's find that correct struct again. So I have here procedural stones struct. Let's open this up. Let's re-import this data table. And right now you can see we have a data table containing different stones. You can fully automate this. This is going to be very cool, which I'm going to show you again in a couple of minutes. But for now, this is a very cool workflow to get a lot of data into Unreal and also to manage the data, because that's usually, once you get to a large project, a huge issue. So let's do this struct right now. The way you create your struct is you go to blueprint. I'm going to create another structure. I'm just going to call this one test. And over here, we're going to add our different variables. So let's say we want to have a vector, which is going to be the bounding box. We have a regular string, which is going to be the name. And then object types, vector object reference. This is a very interesting one, because this is going to reference towards our objects. It's very valuable. And then, of course, name them however you want. That's basically how you create a struct. And then if you give this a proper name, it will show up so you can fetch it with your data tables. delete this one for now. I'm going to use the old one I already had. So let's call this stone test. So now we have our set of stones and we have a stone test data table. Let's continue.